I think one of the most hilarious moves that anybody has made on the libs side of the aisle. An executive order. Well, let me set this up first. The Trump administration is saying, hey, we're going to start going into Chicago. We talked about this story last week. This Friday is the date that the evil Trump administration is going to go into Chicago and enforce the law regarding immigration. Now, there's obviously talk about the National Guard getting sent there to deal with crime. That's not necessarily what this is. But in order to fight that, the brave communist mayor of Chicago, one Mr. Johnson, has signed an executive order saying, no, you cannot come in here. I mean, lots of things to go there. The executive order is Protecting Chicago Initiative. Speaking of Chicago, by the way, 54 people shot over the weekend, 7 dead. But again, they're going to protect Chicago. Also, I'm not entirely sure why a federal judge wouldn't also come in and say this executive order is no bueno. Or I guess not good. For those of us who are still here legally, that might have made sense to you. But all of this to be said, there is a video that I want to play for you from Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, that I think is worth watching because, hey, it actually might be treasonous in a lot of ways. Here to comment on that and so much more is Alma Oheneopari, an author and conservative activist, and Grace Riley, who's the analyst for Restoration America, among other things. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks so much.
Before we get your reactions to the Chicago executive order, I want to play you a video from today. One Brandon Johnson, again, saying some things that I think a lot of people could call treason, among other things. Watch this and we'll get your reaction.
Are you prepared to defend this land that was built by slaves, a land that was built by indigenous people, a land that is built by workers? Are you prepared to defend this land? The people united will always prevail. I need you all to stand firm, to stand strong. If this president decides to continue to break this constitution.
Yeah, that's about that. Grace, I want to start with you here. Sounds like fighting words, and you can obviously make the case that no, this is just heated political rhetoric because, you know, politicians talk like that. But remember, this is the side that says, hey, if you say fight, you obviously mean fight. So what does he mean by defend Chicago against the federal government, which is highly suspect?
Yeah, it sounds like an insurrection to me against the federal government. And beyond that, as if Chicago needs any encouragement towards violence, based off of the numbers you even just said from last week. Laughably, of course, though, from this speech, that was what the Democrats would call inciting riots, right? I mean, this speech compared with this Protect Act, this Protect Chicago executive order, is laughable because, of course, his alleged purpose is to protect, so-called protect, Chicago residents from aggressive federal presences and law enforcement. But really, this executive order only ensures that crime continues in Chicago. And of course, the executive order also stigmatizes and leaves federal officials and military personnel and their families open to possible doxing and retaliation based off of what is in it. And I mean, to give you a few more examples on this rioting clip, on top of it, the first probably you missed because no one watches CNN, but the Illinois Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton went on and accused President Trump of wanting to so-called, quote unquote, manufacture a crisis by bringing law and order to Chicago. I mean, it's insane. And then best for last, so Mayor Johnson, who we just saw, also appeared on MSNBC last week, where he repeatedly refused to answer a question about if increased police presence would help. I mean, to respond to both of them, no one thinks that there isn't a crime crisis in Chicago. Residents, Democrats, or Republicans, no one except for the few Democrat leaders of Chicago who are taking this foolish, terrible, and out-of-touch stance. It's insane, and the numbers don't lie. The crime is high. They're leading the country in murder. It's absolutely insane. You stated a few numbers from last week. The week before that, there were 36 shootings, 6 were fatal. So there's no question there's a problem, and they should welcome any help that they could get. That's the problem here. Instead of writing an executive order and trying to incite riots, he should be actually working on making sure his citizens are safe, which is his primary responsibility.
Yeah, it is wild going on there. Alma, here's what I think is interesting. I said this last week when there was the news that the Trump administration was going to send immigration into Chicago. I don't know why they would be making a big deal about this, considering we've all seen the internet videos of residents of Chicago going to city council meetings and just lambasting Johnson and all of the city council, saying, hey, this illegal immigration thing is a huge problem. Alma, why is it that they aren't just kind of like saying, hey, let's just let it happen, and the Trump administration is going to take care of a problem that we don't necessarily like politically, but it helps us with our own constituents here?
The way I look at it is, it seems like when I watch that clip, what I see from it is like a gang leader who is riling up his gang to protect their territory. Yeah. That's basically what that sounds like. And the Protect Act, I think what he's missing in that title is to protect the car. So yes, I don't understand why they would not partner with the Trump administration and have them actually take care of a problem for them, which is plaguing that city, which the residents are complaining about, which is high illegal immigration. And so it's just crazy to me that they can't manufacture any sense of actual care for their own constituents enough to put aside their hatred for Trump and look at something that can potentially help their own residents. It's just amazing to me how far people can get down this hatred rabbit hole, to the point where, left is right, right is left, up is down, and down is up, to the point where they can spit in the faces of the people who are suffering all these shootings just so they can be against Trump. It's just amazing to me how that is happening.
It is. It's almost like there's a term for that, like a Trump derangement syndrome. If that hasn't caught on, I'm going to try and get that going, because I feel like that's exactly what I think you're describing.